One time I heard leaders are followers, and I thought, that's a really fun little leadership saying. Good for you that you turned that on its head. I'm learning fitness from 20-year-olds that I'm their dad, I'm that age. And so I'm able to say, okay, in this arena, I'm following, I'm learning, I'm soaking it in, and then I can be a leader in other arenas. And I think I could give you so many examples of that where, I'm a half of a scholar, I call myself, because I have a master's of divinity. I never went to PhD. But I've learned from so many great people where I've been a student, I've been a learner, I've been a follower. But then I take what I've learned and I can preach in the local church, I can lead a Bible study, I can lead other folks. And in those arenas, I'm a leader. Life is probably more about doing laundry than being here. Yeah. It's amazing to be here today, and what a spot. Yeah. It's awesome to come to these mountain peaks. We are literally on the side of a mountain. Yeah, right. And it's fantastic. But you think about your everyday commitments, it's a little bit more like just doing that laundry. It's not exciting, it's not fun, it's got to be done.
We have got some good friends back in the Midwest, and we like to tease that, oh, Doug, he's so humble.
I'm the humblest guy that I know.
That's right. Hello and welcome to the H3 Leader Podcast, where our intent is to provide a consistent drip of foundational and practical insight, motivation, and calls to action that will help us all grow in the critical arena of leader development. John Maxwell makes the bold statement that everything rises and falls on leadership. If that's true, and from a particular perspective, I believe it is, we probably ought to spend consistent time and energy on the subject. Very quickly, I want to note that my hope is to highlight the beauty and the value of leaders within my relational sphere that can speak into the development of the H3 leader. In other words, my goal is not to wow the viewer with recognizable A-list names. In fact, most of my guests will be absolutely foreign to most of our tribe. But you know what? That is not only okay. It is, in my humble opinion, a value add to the conversation. Because let's face it, always upping the ante with A-lister recognizable names is not sustainable. What is sustainable is the vision of bringing the stories of real life, trench-digging leaders to the table for eye-to-eye conversations that meet leaders like you and me right where we are. In today's conversation, I am elated to introduce you to my good friend, Doug Hurley, with an interview we recorded on the side of a mountain. I cannot wait for you to meet him. Coming up right after this. All right, Doug, well, appreciate you taking a minute on our jaunt up toward Half Dome today. For the record, we did not go all the way, but just absolutely seeing some beautiful, beautiful scenery out here in Yosemite and taking a minute away from our downtime as brothers in arms and just relaxing and recording this podcast with me. So I appreciate it very much.
Great to be here.
Just real quickly, because I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on bio, but tell us a little bit about your family, a little bit about your vocation, what do you do, all that good stuff. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Live in Thousand Oaks, California. I've worked at Pepperdine University for 27 years. I've got 3 boys out of college and in college. I've done scouts, outdoor stuff, pretty much all my life, and I'm still continuing that, as you can tell, today.
Yeah, and married for how long?
30 years.
To Charlene Hurley. And claim to fame, you are an Eagle Scout, and now all 3 of your boys are Eagle Scouts.
Exactly,
as well,
yeah. Had a ton of fun in Scouts, 15 years, hiking, backpacking, all the good stuff.
It's awesome, dude. And you host this, as we affectionately call it, the Guys Trip. This is my second one. You've been doing it for 5 or 6 years now. We come for 3.5, 4 days into Yosemite National Park, go down to Curry Village, and then get to see some absolutely amazing sights. So
we're in a great spot right now.
Yeah. So what I like to do is talk to people about this concept of the H3 leader and get just insights from people that I respect, people that I've followed along the way. And you and I have been best friends since college. We roomed together there. I've seen your career take off. We were in ministry together early on as interns with the church. You actually came on full time with them for a while, and then you got this opportunity to move from
the Midwest, Central Illinois, out to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, living in the Thousand Oaks area. Just that was a leap of faith. I know, just personally reflecting on that, just remembering, man, Doug is brave. Because Shar was pregnant at the time with your first.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I think she was at least 6 months pregnant when you guys took off.
Yep.
And you just like piled up the U-Haul and went.
I had no friends.
Yeah.
I actually knew one person. I didn't even know where I was going to live. We got an apartment right away just to kind of do it for a short term while. And it really was a leap of faith, but I felt like I had a vision of where I was going. Even though I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, I knew that I was going to be in a good place. And so we took that leap.
Which was, you know, I like to invoke around me this sense of adventure. I mean, that's part of why we do this, right? But that's life. That's picking up your family, your pregnant wife and you, and getting in the U-Haul and driving thousands of miles to a state you don't know. Pretty incredible. But now I look at that 20 to 25 years later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how beautiful has that been? Not easy, but beautiful, beautiful. And really, I think a lesson to us in taking that leap of faith or having that sense of adventure about life and just going for it. And it wasn't completely blind, like you were saying, but still, I just really admire you for that.
Yeah.
So I like to talk to these people that I admire that have been along this journey for a while, particularly as a leader, and just kind of tap their brains, particularly around this idea of the H3 leader: humble, healthy, and holistic. So, you know, we have got some good friends back in the Midwest, and we like to tease that, oh, Doug, he's so humble.
I'm the humblest guy that I know.
That's right. But how have you seen that in your leader development journey? Because I like to speak to men and women that I believe really are leaders at heart and really believe in what they're doing. But how has humility, that characteristic of being humble, been a factor in your development?
Yeah, that's a great question. And by the way, I love those 3 H's. And I think you're really tapping into something important when you think about leadership. There's a lot of leadership books in the library that I've seen. And I like this track that you're taking on.
Appreciate that.
I think humility is, if you're paying attention in life, it makes you humble. Everybody ought to notice that life is a humbling experience. I've personally had a lot of ups and downs, as everybody does. I've had family experiences that have not been the greatest. I've made a lot of mistakes at work, public mistakes, because at work I do programming for the student body and for guests like families that come on campus. And you want to be at your best. You want to represent yourself and Pepperdine well. And I've made some big mistakes and I've had to go back and reassess those things. So that's automatically humbling. So then you can say, well, hopefully you can say, okay, now how am I going to rise above this? And sounds probably cliche, but I've got a lot to learn from that. How can I look back and take a stronger step next time? But then I still humble, because I know that more likely than not, there's going to be some of those missteps in the future. And like you said, you interview people for this that you admire. I've been also a people watcher my whole life. And that keeps me humble, because I think, wow, I admire that about this person. I admire that about this person. I'm not there yet. I want to be like that. And I still have some growth to do. So that automatically keeps me striving. I'm 56 now. I'm feeling looking forward to the end of my career rather than the beginning. And yet, because that's been my attitude, I'm still striving and I'm still growing.
That idea of looking at other people and allowing that to humble us, to keep us in a state of respect and almost maybe a sense of awe that we've got so much more to learn. That's pretty powerful. And quite frankly, that I have a bit of that with you. This idea of adventure, and I've got a little bit of prepper blood in me, and this idea of, okay, what can I do in an emergency? And to think that you're an Eagle Scout and you've got all this training, and you come up here more than just once a year.
Look at this place.
And you talk about humbling.
Yeah, right.
At the face of this.
If this doesn't humble you, yeah.
But then to be able to look at them and rather than nitpick, rather than bring them down a notch so that you can feel better about yourself. It's actually celebrating the things that they are doing well, and being in a sense inspired, but also humbled by it. That can keep us in check. And I think that's a healthy perspective. Speaking of healthy, it's easy to get into the physical realm, and I know you've dealt with some physical ailments that you've had to really focus in on your health with. I'd love to hear a little bit about that story. But then we get into the other sides of our health too, our heart, soul, and our mind, and our strength. So our relationships with others, of course, our EQ, that kind of thing. Our spiritual health. I know you've had a long journey with the church. Our mental health and how that can play a part of who we are and how we present ourselves to the world. So how would you, in not too many sentences, kind of enter into that realm of health and speak to the developing leader?
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. You do normally start with physical health and you think about that, and maybe that's the metaphor for all those other things. And so when you think about your physical health, you think about a daily monitoring, a daily commitment, small steps, not going off into the latest fad, not following the latest thing. One of the things I do at Pepperdine is campus rec, and we talk about the difference between a trend and a fad, especially in the healthcare industry. Here's the latest gadget. Here's the latest thing.
Which would be a fad?
That could be a fad.
Okay.
Here's a device. It's going to do this. It's going to work this. Versus, a trend, which a trend right now is more just functional movement. And that's just thinking back to the old school, gym. Let's get some sit-ups, some push-ups, some burpees, some squats, those kind of things. That's a trend.
Okay.
That's never going to go away. That's not going to be a fad. That 20 years from now, no one's going to say, don't do squats, don't do push-ups, don't do pull-ups.
Yeah.
So I think about that in my physical health. I'm not a Men's Health cover model, but I'm in my 50s, and I've made a commitment every day to, continue in that path.
Even if you had to overcome some back problems and other issues, right?
Yeah, had some back problems. Right now I'm working on some internal organ issues, and you just try to, how can I do today and continue to make that better? And then that bleeds over in those other things you're talking about, relationship health or commitment to my faith, to my family. What can I do a little bit today to heal that relationship that's broken, or to do that small step of kindness? Again, it's not, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change. I'm going to read this great new book. I'm going to take this awesome seminar. Those things can be helpful.
Yeah.
For me, they never have been, because I've made a lot of crazy commitments and a lot of statements that I'm going to do this. And then maybe I just let myself down instead of just taking some small steps.
Yeah. The word that comes to mind that I've been trying to lean into is sustainability. And those highs can be fun and they can give us some energy, but that's not real life. I'm not going to a concert every night. I'm not that emotional high that is not sustainable. But the small steps, and I talk about that on my shorts a lot, right? My today's reps, get 1% better. What can I do every single day? Because every day is training day. That's what I want to be incorporating in my life across these arenas of health. Anything else on that particular point?
Life is probably more about doing laundry than being here. Yeah. It's amazing to be here today, and what a spot.
Yeah.
It's awesome to come to these mountain peaks. We are literally on the side of a mountain, and it's fantastic. But you think about your everyday commitments, it's a little bit more like just doing that laundry. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It's got to be done.
Yeah. Amen to that. And I think coming to a place of acceptance on that is so important, and realizing that, my life is not less than because I have to do laundry. The third element is this idea of being holistic. And, I think you and I were teasing that, that starts with a W, and that would be the holistic piece of it. But then the holistic piece is this idea of it's more than just like in the leadership space or in leader development. We often think of that in the workspace. We often think of that in my vocation or my arena of expertise. But there's more of all of life involved in that. And we talk about in the H3 Leader, the integration of our business and our life and our faith, and how to be more holistic in that leader development. So just curious as to, in your journey, how you have walked that line of becoming more holistic in your approach to life.
I think I've tried to define and decide who I am. And again, that's probably a midlife, realization
Yeah.
that I don't know that I did that when I was 20 or 30. But when you say yes to things in life, you automatically say no to other things. So I've come to the point where I know the things I'm good at, things I can do well, and the things I'm not good at. I know I'm not going to do accounting and spreadsheets, and that's just not me.
Yeah.
And so I've been okay with that. So I think you define who you are and you try to do that very well. And then you do that in all arenas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to be different with you, my great friend from back in the day, with my boss, with the people that I lead. I'm still going to be the same. You're going to get the same Doug every single time.
Yeah.
And I'm really big into the idea of just like strengths based.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I've decided and know what I do well. And I'm not going to worry about the things that I don't do well. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
I've only got a few more, years on this life, and I'm going to do what I do well.
Yeah. Marcus Buckingham speaks to that. He came out with a book, I think it was in the 90s, Working in Your Strengths. And it was just the idea that, we could fix the little things that are broken and maybe get a 10% increase. But if we can lean into our strengths, what's the ROI on that, so to speak, in life? You can go further and go stronger if you realize how you've been created, what you've been created to do and to be, and to lean into that. Doesn't mean we can't work on the things that need work, but really to lean into those strengths. The other thing that comes to mind as you're talking about is I like the concept of integrity. Right? Usually we think of that's just some sense of sense of righteousness, but it really has to do with wholeness. Right? And knowing who Doug Hurley is, and being with integrity, that entire Doug Hurley, no matter where Doug Hurley is. And so I appreciate you bringing that thought to light.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up these conversations, I want to hear one or two just lessons in leader development that you've learned along the way, that in your, you said as you're getting toward the end of your career, that you would want to maybe hand on to younger leaders. What are some things that you think they would find valuable?
Yeah, thanks for that. One time I heard leaders are followers, and I thought, that's a really fun little leadership saying. Good for you that you turned that on its head. And that's exactly then what I've latched onto. And for me, that means, so for example, we talked a little bit about fitness. So I work at a college. The fitness classes that I go to, there's a whole bunch of 18 and 20-year-olds in there. They crush me. They demolish me. They're way beyond me.
Yeah.
And in that arena, I'm a follower. I'm not the best. I'm not that good. I'm not the first one, I'm not the one doing them the fastest. I'm kind of just like the weakest guy, but I'm watching, I'm learning. And then I take what I've learned and gained physically, and I take it to a place like this where today I'm leading a group of men, and I'm one of the strongest climbers. Yeah. And so today I'm a leader, but I'm in that capacity to lead because I've humbled myself. I'm learning fitness from 20-year-olds that I'm their dad. I'm that age. And so I'm able to say, okay, in this arena, I'm following, I'm learning, I'm soaking it in, and then I can be a leader in other arenas. And I think I could give you so many examples of that where, I'm a half of a scholar, I call myself, because I have a master's of divinity. I never went to PhD, but I've learned from so many great people where I've been a student, I've been a learner, I've been a follower. But then I take what I've learned and I can preach in the local church, I can lead a Bible study, I can lead other folks. And in those arenas, I'm a leader. Yeah. So I really believe that's not just a funny saying.
Yeah.
I think good leaders have been and continue to be followers.
I love that application because it's a spinoff of the fact that you're a lifelong learner, right? But there's something in maturity and in wisdom that is able to take that thing we're learning and more almost exponentially apply it effectively, as opposed to just being knowledge that is coming in. And I'm reading a book or I'm doing this, but now I can actually go apply it to life and benefit not only my own life, but the lives of the people around me.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other tidbits of wisdom?
I would just tell your listeners, if they haven't been to Yosemite, this is life-changing. When you think about leadership and humility and holistic and faith, I'm one of these folks, when you take those tests, I'm one of those when you go outside, you commune with God, you learn your place in nature, in the universe, you realize you're a creature, you're part of all this.
Yeah.
And it really is soul cleansing and changing. And something about this kind of space is a leadership development for me.
Oh my
and if
God.
you have people that, you know, are into that, I recommend getting to a place like this and challenging yourself. And
Well, it's an interesting segue. For a couple things pop into my mind as you're talking about. First of all, in the background, we can hear. What's the falls?
yeah, this is Vernal Falls that we're
in
listening
the background.
to.
You're not going to be able to hear it on the tape, but we can hear the Vernal Falls in the background, and this idea of rushing water.
Yeah.
It's like the sound, the ambient sound wave system that just cleanses everything.
It's great.
Not to
There's a
mention the
breeze
fresh
coming
air.
at us.
Oh my golly, and the pines that are around us, and of course, then there's just a visual overload of the granite rock face that is right there, and to be able to just. And I put together a short yesterday that my viewers have already seen, but this idea of how it can be humbling to be at rest. That it is an act of humility to rest in this, because you and I can't control this.
No.
There is nothing about this space.
We are not in charge of this space.
Control over, but we get to just bask in its amazing beauty and bounty.
Yeah.
And so thanks for letting me come here. But the other segue that I'll just tip a hat toward is this idea of possibly under the umbrella of the H3 leader someday actually putting together a Yosemite excursion and bringing you
Let's
along
do
as
it.
a part of that as our leader. So thanks for inviting me. Thanks for all you do to bring these men together. And brother, it's just been great walking alongside you in life. And thanks for your time today.
Great to talk to you.
Blessings to you, bro.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking the time and energy to join us in today's conversation. I hope you will continue to join us on this journey, a beautiful shared journey from here to there in the world of leader development. Until we meet again, remember to always do something, anything, every single day to move the ball forward, to make the world within and around you 1% better. Because whatever your goal, vision, or task, remember, every day is training day. Blessings to you all, and we'll see you soon.